The mechanic's Christmas wish. The night she told him, "You don't have to be alone anymore." Snow fell in quiet sheets over the small Colorado town of Silver Ridge, frosting the rooftops and blanketing the streets in a soft white hush. Christmas lights blinked from porches and storefronts, and somewhere in the distance, church bells chimed faintly through the cold mountain air. Inside a dimly lit garage at the edge of town, beneath a flickering fluorescent bulb, Daniel Harper wiped his grease-stained hands on an old red rag and glanced at the clock. 8:47 p.m. Christmas Eve. He should have been home hours ago. But home, for Daniel, was a one-room apartment above the hardware store, bare walls, a second-hand couch, and a small artificial tree he hadn't bothered to plug in this year. He turned back to the truck in front of him, a battered Ford with engine trouble that couldn't wait until after the holiday. Work was easier than sitting alone with memories. The wind howled outside, rattling the garage door. Daniel tightened the last bolt and slid out from under the hood. He'd just closed the truck when he heard tires crunching over snow. He frowned. No one came to the garage this late. Headlights swept across the frosted windows, and a small sedan rolled unsteadily into the lot. The engine coughed once, twice, and then died completely. Daniel sighed, grabbed his coat, and stepped outside into the biting cold. The driver's door opened, and a young woman stepped out, hugging her coat tightly around her. Snowflakes clung to her dark hair, and her breath came out in small white clouds. "Please tell me you're still open," she called, her voice apologetic but hopeful. Daniel hesitated. "Depends on what's wrong." She gave a sheepish smile. It made a noise, then a worse noise, then no noise at all. He walked over to the car, peering through the thin veil of falling snow. "Pop the hood." She did, and he leaned in, examining the engine with practiced eyes. After a few minutes, he straightened. "Alternators shot," he said. "Batteries drained. You're not going anywhere tonight." Her face fell. She glanced down the empty road, then back at him. "Is there any chance you could fix it?" Daniel looked at the sky. The snow was coming down harder now. Most parts stores had closed hours ago. "Not tonight," he admitted. "I can order the part in the morning." She nodded slowly. "Okay." There was a pause, long enough for the cold to creep through their coats. "You have somewhere to go?" he asked gruffly. She hesitated. "I was trying to make it to my sister's place in Denver." "Christmas dinner. That's 2 hours from here in good weather." "I know." The wind picked up again, and she shivered despite herself. Daniel exhaled slowly. "There's a motel a mile down the road." She gave him a strained smile. "Fully booked." "I checked." He studied her for a moment. She looked young, mid-20s, maybe. Tired, but not defeated. "You can wait inside while I close up," he said at last. "It's warmer than standing out here." Relief softened her features. "Thank you." Inside the garage, Daniel pulled a space heater closer to the small desk in the corner. She sat in the worn metal chair while he finished tidying his tools. "I'm Daniel," he said after a moment. "Clara," she replied. "Clara Bennett." He nodded. Silence settled between them, not entirely uncomfortable but heavy enough to notice. Clara's eyes drifted to a dusty cardboard box on a shelf nearby. Inside were old Christmas ornaments, tangled tinsel and a chipped porcelain angel. "You decorate?" she asked gently. "Used to," he said. "Not much point these days." She studied him carefully but didn't press. After locking up, Daniel cleared his throat. "Look, my apartment's just above Main Street. It's not fancy, but you can take the couch. Better than your car." Clara blinked in surprise. "Are you sure? It's Christmas Eve," he muttered. "Wouldn't feel right leaving you stranded." Her smile this time was warmer. "Thank you, Daniel. Really." The apartment was small but clean. Clara removed her boots by the door and stepped inside, glancing around at the sparse furniture. Daniel flipped on a lamp. The artificial tree in the corner remained dark, its ornaments catching the light faintly. "I'll make coffee," he said. As the old coffee maker sputtered to life, Clara wandered toward the tree. She plugged it in. Soft golden lights flickered on. Daniel turned and stared. "Thought it might as well shine," she said lightly. He looked away. "Suit yourself." They sat across from each other at the small kitchen table, mugs warming their hands. "So," Clara said after a moment, "what's your Christmas wish?" Daniel let out a humorless chuckle. "That's for kids. Humor me." He shrugged. "Don't have one. Everyone has one. Not me." Clara tilted her head. "Okay, then what would you wish for if you did?" He stared into his coffee. 10 years ago, he would have had an answer. Back when his wife, Emily, had filled rooms with laughter and insisted on real trees that shed needles everywhere. Back before the accident on an icy road one December night. He swallowed. Doesn't matter, he said quietly. Wishes don't change things. Clara's voice softened. Sometimes they change us. He met her eyes for the first time since they'd sat down. They weren't pitying, just steady. My wife used to love Christmas, he said, the words surprising even him. She died. Car accident. Christmas Eve. 10 years ago. Clara didn't speak, didn't offer clichés. She just listened. I guess my wish back then was that time would stop hurting, he continued. But it didn't. He stood abruptly and moved to the window, staring at the snow drifting past. I got used to being alone, he said. It's easier. Is it? Clara asked softly. He didn't answer. After a moment, she rose and stood beside him. You know, she said, my parents split up when I was little. Holidays were always complicated, loud, messy, sometimes lonely even when the house was full. He glanced at her. But my grandma used to tell me something, she continued. She'd say, Clara, Christmas isn't about who's missing. It's about who's still here. Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. She looked at him fully now. You don't have to be alone anymore. The words hung in the air between them. He almost laughed them off, but he couldn't. I don't even know you, he said. True, she admitted, but I know what loneliness looks like. And I know what kindness looks like too. You could have left me in that parking lot tonight. He shrugged. It was the right thing. Exactly. She stepped closer, her voice steady. You think being alone protects you? Maybe it does, a little. But it also keeps out everything else. Daniel's throat tightened. I'm not saying forget, she added gently. Or replace what you lost. I'm just saying, maybe there's room for something new. Outside, the church bells began to ring midnight. Christmas Day. Daniel hadn't noticed how close they were standing. How warm the room felt now compared to earlier. I used to host Christmas dinners, he said quietly. Neighbors, friends. Emily insisted on it, said no one should eat alone. Clara smiled faintly. Sounds like she was wise. He nodded slowly. They stood in silence as the bells finished their song. Finally, Daniel cleared his throat. There's a diner down the street. Opens at 6 for breakfast. They'll be busy with travelers. We could go, if you want. Clara's smile widened. I'd like that. He hesitated. And after I fix your car, Denver's only 2 hours away. But Silver Ridge isn't so bad either. She studied him, understanding the layers beneath his words. No, she said softly. It's not. Morning came bright and clear. The storm had passed, leaving behind a world that glittered in fresh snow. At the diner, Daniel and Clara shared pancakes and coffee while holiday music crackled from an old jukebox. For the first time in years, Daniel found himself laughing, really laughing, at one of her stories about childhood Christmas disasters involving a burned turkey and an overenthusiastic golden retriever. Later, back at the garage, Daniel worked efficiently. Clara handed him tools, her presence easy and unforced. By afternoon, the sedan hummed back to life. She stood beside it, keys in hand. So, she said, mechanic's verdict. You're good to go. A pause lingered between them. You could still make it to Denver by dinner, he added. She looked down the quiet street, then back at him. Or, she said slowly, I could call my sister and tell her I got snowed in. Daniel's heart thudded unexpectedly. You'd do that, she smiled. I have a feeling Silver Ridge might need a little more Christmas. He glanced at the garage, at the small apartment window above it, at the snow-covered town that had felt so empty the night before. Maybe it does, he said. Clara stepped closer. So, Daniel Harper, what's your Christmas wish now? He looked at her, at the warmth in her eyes, the possibility in her smile. For the first time in 10 years, the answer came easily. That this isn't the last Christmas I spend with you. Her breath caught, just slightly. It doesn't have to be, she said. And as the afternoon sun broke through the clouds, casting silver light across the snow, Daniel realized something simple and extraordinary. Wishes don't bring back what we've lost. But sometimes, on the quietest nights, they open the door to what's waiting to be found. 1500 WAD.